Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on navigating the global oil crisis with Lean Six Sigma. Before we start, please allow me to go through some housekeeping. All lines will be muted during the webinar. We will be sharing the recording and the slides with all attendees after the webinar. If you have any question, please submit your question in the Q&A chat box. As mentioned earlier, the webinar will be recorded and we will be sharing the recording with all attendees after the webinar. Today, we'll be covering the topics you see on screen right now. We will be discussing the current reality, understanding the oil crisis. We'll be sharing some data spotlight, where which country has the biggest diesel price hike. We'll be sharing who's the biggest loser. We'll discuss about Lean Six Sigma and how we can apply Lean Six Sigma to the oil crisis. And of course, we will be sharing regional focus and the opportunities available. Our speaker for today is Sir Anthony Dalula. He's our Global Training Technical Lead for Quality and Business Excellence at BSI. Anthony leads the strategy, governance, and continuous improvement of BSI Global Training product portfolio. With over 30 years of experience, Anthony is also providing direct leadership over enterprise-wide process improvement initiative across BSI global operation. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Sir Anthony for his sharing. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Suyin. Welcome, everyone. Before I proceed, let me just quickly introduce you to what the British Standards Institution is for. So BSI has been around for over 120 years. In fact, we're celebrating our 125th year this year, and it's incorporated by the Royal Charter. We are a profit for purpose organization. We reinvest our profits to develop standards that benefit society. And our mission is to help organizations achieve their goals and grow sustainably while balancing the pursuit of profit with the well-being of the planet and its people. So we serve an integrated global enterprise. We're able to serve clients from 87 offices in 31 countries across the world, more than 5,500 colleagues globally, operating in 193 countries across consulting, system certification, product certification, regulatory services, sales and business development, marketing, and supporting business delivery through HR, IT, finance, management, legal, communications, and facilities. Before we start with our webinar for today, let me engage you in a quick poll. And you should be able to see the poll questions now. Suyin, if you're able to pull it out. Okay, so just a quick temperature check. How is your organization or country currently affected by oil price volatility? All right, so keep it coming. So have you got major impact, meaning your operations were disrupted? Of course, costs are rising sharply, or were you moderately impacted? How about limited impact? Or good thing, currently you're not yet affected. Okay. Thank you for those who have already placed their response. I will end the poll in about 30 seconds. Thank you to the 55 persons who have already signified their current state. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to end the poll now. Thank you for your responses. And I'll share the results now. As you can see, about 44% of us have got moderate impact. We feel the pressure, but we are coping. So good thing. And that's a reflection of the resilience of your organization and even yourself. But not too far behind would be 37% have got major impact, meaning your operations were already disrupted, costs are rising sharply. And for those who have not been affected by or not yet affected by this current oil crisis, thank you for sharing that, and hopefully you're able to sustain it. But of course, moving forward, I'm hoping and I'm believing that you can have some value adds included in your ways of work. I'm going to be stopping the sharing now, and we'll proceed with our current topic at hand. So I'm starting with current reality as if we don't know this yet, right? So the diesel price hikes. So as you can see, this chart from investor side shows the percentage increase in diesel prices since the Iran conflict escalated on, I hope you can still remember it, right? 23rd Feb this year. It's quite becoming infamous now, right? So the numbers are staggering. The Philippines, for one, tops the list with an 81.6% jump. That's nearly double. And Malaysia at 57.9%. Singapore at 44%. And obviously, Asian economies dominate the top ranks. This isn't just a statistic. It's a direct hit on transport costs, manufacturing, and household budgets even. And in fact, in one of the recent studies as well, even education of our children are also affected because of the transport cost increased. So why are these countries suffering so much? So it's a combination of factors. First, high import dependency. The Philippines, for one, imports virtually all its oil at 90%. Malaysia, despite being a producer, still imports certain refined products. And secondly, currency weakness. So when your currency falls against the dollar, oil becomes even more expensive. And thirdly, subsidy cuts. So some governments have removed fuel subsidies and passing the full shock to businesses and consumers. And fourthly, lack of refining capacity. Even Nigeria, an oil producer, imports most of its diesel. Could you imagine that? And of course, geography and logistics. Island nations, as most of the Southeast Asian nations are, face higher delivery costs to reach end users. And finally, fiscal vulnerability. So countries with high debt and low reserves simply cannot cushion the blow. So who is the biggest loser here? And I suppose some of you have got some hint. So neither of the countries that I've shown earlier was the biggest loser, because according to the economists, their analysis published a month ago, the biggest losers from this energy shock are not necessarily the largest oil importers, okay, but those with the least capacity to adapt. And unfortunately, Pakistan is named as the most exposed. But several South and Southeast Asian nations, including, again, what I've mentioned, the Philippines and even Vietnam, are also in the danger zone. So this tells us that resilience is not automatic. It must be built, and that's where Lean Six Sigma comes in. So again, we need to look into diversification. We need to have some mix of energy sources, and I suppose you have been doing that since the dawning of this oil crisis. And of course, from the government's perspective, there's got to be buffers, fiscal buffers, and industrial mix. So for those new to Lean Six Sigma, let me just give a quick refresher or introduction to what this is about. It is a systematic way to improve efficiency and quality. So this is a combination of two time-tested ways of work. In no particular order, one of them is lean, and its main focus is to eliminate, if not reduce, wastes, operational wastes. And there are plenty of operational wastes. One of them would be transportation waste, whether that would be within your facility or within the macroeconomic landscape. And another would be waiting, and of course, over processing. So I've just mentioned most popular wastes that are being aimed to be eliminated using lean methodology, if not reduced. What else? Six Sigma. So Six Sigma is about reducing variation. Variation is our inconsistencies. So obviously, if we are aiming for consistencies, we are still hitting some ranges, right? So hence the averages, or what we call in the statistical world as the mean, right? So if there aren't any variation, if you insist, then that should be consistent day in and day out. Even yourselves, right? The time that you wake up, it's gonna be like consistently 6 a.m. and 00 second. But being in this random ordered world, I don't think no one can do that. So hence, with regard to variation, our main focus is to reduce the variation, not eliminate it. So in the context of Six Sigma, we are using data to reduce these variations or inconsistencies. In some jargon, especially from the service industry world, we are wanting to reduce errors. Okay? In the manufacturing industry, we are aiming to reduce defects, thus increasing yield, right? And of course, with defects come defective products. Okay, so hence Six Sigma is very vital in the way we manage our production operations. So together, they form a powerful methodology to address complex challenges like this oil crisis. So it operates under the discipline of this logically sequenced process, which is aptly named as DMAIC. Okay? Some call it as DMAIC or DMAIC. Regardless, its full form must be defined, which is basically your first point. And then as soon as you have defined the scope and the problem that you want to manage, you must be measuring it, because if you are unable to measure it, you are unable to analyze the current state. And then as soon as you are able to analyze the current state, you are able to improve what is happening and what is happening in the current state of the process. And then eventually move to sustaining the gain. And that is control. Okay? So before we dive deep into the application of DMAIC in this current oil crisis, let me engage you in another poll. And if you don't mind putting it up, Suyin, our question is, where is the, let me end this. Sorry, could you do that again? Sorry, Suyin, could you share the poll again? Poll number 2. Okay. So the question is, where is the biggest opportunity to reduce oil dependency in your organization? If you don't mind clicking. Okay, so your choices would be logistics and transportation, manufacturing efficiency, renewable and alternative energy, and the last but not the least would be value chain waste reduction. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to be sharing the results. And it's 44% renewable and alternative energy, followed closely by logistics and transportation, which are obviously two of our greatest concerns, if not way forward actions to being resilient. And those two are not really too far out to be integrated with Lean Six Sigma, or what we call as obviously a continual process improvement way of work. Okay. So I'm going to be stop sharing now. Again, thank you for engaging in that second and last poll. So those results show strong interests in logistics and transportation, and obviously in the renewable and alternative energy areas where, as I've mentioned earlier, Lean Six Sigma has a proven track record. So how do we apply Lean Six Sigma? Now, let's take a look at how we can, make this more tangible during this time of crisis. So the first two phases of the DMAIC, the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, are critical. In define, we move from vague concerns like fuel costs are too high to what? To a specific measurable goal. Because if we cannot, define or state the problem, we don't know what to look at. We don't know what to really manage. And inversely, if you have written your problem statement, in essence, scoping the problem, you have solved your problem / issue half of the time. Why? Because you're able to identify what are the specific measurable goals. And at the same time, the stakeholders who will do what. And obviously translating vague concerns into tangible written problem statement. Then and only then we can progress to the measure phase, where we gather the baseline data. Remember, baseline data. These are your current state. What is currently happening? Because without it, we're guessing. Okay. So this might mean installing telematics, or perhaps auditing route efficiency, or even benchmarking energy use for your manufacturing unit or facilities. The thing is, you must understand that good data allows you to focus on the biggest drivers of consumption. It's analogous to your doctor telling you that, hey, Mr. John Doe, we have a problem with your cardiovascular system. Why? Because for the last 5 years, your cholesterol and your triglyceride levels are not decreasing. It's not even plateauing. It's increasing. So it's a news that you're not improving. So did the doctor just pick it out of the thin air? I don't think so. He looked into the data through your lab results. So again, likened to that, we need to do that in every processes that we have got, that we wanted to manage. Okay. So moving forward, we can now analyze. So in the analyze phase, we dig deeper. We ask through the tools that you can see in the screen right now, either using 5 Whys, Fishbone, and together with the Pareto diagram, we ask, why do we use so much fuel? Is it due to inefficient routes? Is it about long idle times? Or is it about old machineries? And a Pareto chart can also reveal that 20%, for this case, of the fleet uses 60% of the fuel. Hence, we can focus improvement there, and it gives us the biggest return. So root cause also, through your root cause analysis, can help us move past symptoms to real solutions. What are the differences between root causes and symptoms? Symptoms are what you can sense. Sense meaning your 5 senses: see, can feel, hear, smell, touch. Of course, in industries such as food and even some nutritional manufacturing facilities, you can taste some of those through sample testing in what we call as organoleptic testing. So you're using 5 senses in those cases. In the service industry, what you can see, and so you're using your sense of sight, and what you can hear, okay, through your customer complaints. Those are symptoms So when you look into the symptoms, say for example, again in this case, the symptoms of having top fuel consuming activities such as the long haul, um, you know, services and trucks, you need to deep dive into it by asking question why, right? And for the case of idling, why have we got like 22% fuel consuming activities in idling? Why are we not turning off our trucks when we are waiting for unloading or loading? Right? Those are some of the difference between symptoms and root cause. So you need to dive deeper. And I've shared with you a couple of tools, and I suppose you have been using those. So then and only then we can move to the improved phase. So the improved phase is where ideas become action. So in logistics and transport, we might use data to redesign delivery routes. Perhaps we can cut kilometers by 10%. And of course, load consolidation is if you're not yet doing this, I suppose you're doing this already if you're in this industry. Because in doing so, you will be incurring fewer trips and fewer mileage. Eco driving training for drivers as well. Like supposed to always stepping on that accelerator abruptly because it consumes more fuel. And in some cases, phase to shift EV or hybrid fleets, if possible already in your economy. In manufacturing, there are plenty of examples with regard to improvement. And again, you are not just picking those out of the thin air. You might use your experiences, or perhaps you can use benchmarking within the industry, such as energy efficient equipment upgrades, or perhaps heat recovery systems on hot processes. And I believe, which is very integral and vital, but at the same time crucial, because we don't want to be idle as we wait for supplies. Just in time, JIT. Because yes, JIT is cutting idle energy, but JIT also may lead to idle machine time because they are waiting for the just-in-time supply. Okay, so it is studied, okay, in your production plan and inventory control to have that. And of course, last but not the least, predictive maintenance to avoid wastes. Great. Obviously, we don't want to have an inefficient office or administration and services in our support processes. But of course, if this is your core, being a service industry organization, one of the most practical improvement initiative is to have small changes that add up. Say, for example, remote collaboration to cut travel. And I suppose since the pandemic, we have done that. And in some economies, they have reduced the number of face-to-face office reporting for their staff in a week from 5 days to 4 days. And smart building controls would be a practical investment for your offices if you're still owning your offices through BIM and HVAC and lighting would be automatically, be idle or turned off if no one is there. Default to digital documentation is a must nowadays if you're going to ask me. Because, obviously, if you're printing, it's a waste of resources as well. And last but not the least, energy-aware procurement policies for these organizations. And those are small changes. So we can implement those systems, and each solution should be piloted first. First things first. to prove its effectiveness. And as soon as you are able to present data that have given you significant changes, then go for those improvement initiatives. Right. Then and only then, we will proceed to the last phase of Lean Six Sigma, which is the control phase. Control phase, as I have shown you earlier, this is where you sustain the gain. So improvement is only valuable if it lasts. So that term, gain, is really your improvement. We want that to last for, if you're going to ask me, for a long period of time. And when we speak of a long period of time, that can be achieving your vision statement. So usually our vision statement will last for like 20 years. Okay. So yes, there are also improvement initiatives that can be within the medium or short term. Nonetheless, these are still improvement, bridging the gap between the unmet goals of the organization and your ideal state. So bridging those gaps. So in the control phase, we put systems in place to prevent backsliding. When we speak of systems, we're not just talking about computerized systems. These can come in the form of, say, dashboards. So we're using KPIs, KRAs, of course, for this example, for fuel and energy use. And we can use standard work. So meaning we have got pre-trip checks and idle time policies as well. So if you're not yet doing it. And if you have got the tools to aid you, you may want to use statistical process control, SPC, as the one that you can see right now in my screen. So SPC detects drift before it becomes a spike, before it even becomes an out of specification. So an out of specification can be detected through your process capability analysis. So your distribution, okay, so usually your normal distribution within your walls. If you can see my hands right now, the walls are your specifications. But in the control limit, the control limits are usually tighter than your specification limits. It would be unsettling if your control limits are wider, much wider than your specification limits. Why? Because as you are unstable, because in SPC, the chart is detecting your processes stability, meaning being stable, meaning you've got less variation. And if you have got, again, let me go back to that point, that you have got a wider control limits as opposed to your specification limits, you are bearing the risk of the moment that you are inconsistent, you will go beyond the specifications. Specifications are set by your customers, whether they are your direct customers or they are your regulators. Okay, so it's double whammy if you have both unmet expectations from these clients, from these interested parties. Okay, so remember, if you have got the capability to undertake statistical process control, then I suggest you do this, because again, you are able to detect drifts before it becomes a spike, before it becomes an out of specification, which would mean customer complaint or what? Regulatory or statutory fines, okay, for your industry. Okay. So, and last but not the least, you should have cadence. I'm not saying that you do daily huddles, but if it is working for you, then go for it. Go for daily huddles. and of course monthly reviews. I suppose monthly reviews are always in your system, in your management system. More so if you are a management system certified organization in the form of like ISO 9001. And I'm just pitching that in less than a month from now, the final draft international standard of ISO 9001 2026 will be out. And if you are into ISO 14001 2026, which was just recently released, just this week, actually. So you are able to conduct these monthly reviews because you are obviously mandated within that system to have that control, that cadence. So again, let me just go back to this example. A control chart helps spot unusual spikes before they become problems, and you are able to manage them through your cadence so that your processes, your system will not lead to out of specifications. That would lead to complaints, that would lead to fines, or even lead to bigger recall. So that's Lean Six Sigma as an application of your way of work, your discipline to be more resilient in this time. So let me now focus on our regional opportunities as South and Southeast Asian nations, and in fact, even the world. Right? So we are at the crossroads right now. We don't know when this war will end, but we know that we must be resilient against not just this war, but against all environmental factors. Hence, we're doing our environmental analysis, right, in the form of SWOT, or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And in fact, most, if not all of you, might be doing the PESTEL or PESTEL analysis, right? You're looking at what are the current factors affected by the political situation or landscape, not just within my region, but the world. What about the environmental factors? What about the social factors, technological, legal, right? Those are a must if you're going to ask me. Not just within the ISO management system standard requirements, but as an organization who are pursuing or who is pursuing resiliency, meaning not just existing for within the decade, but within a century and more than that. Okay. So this is based on a study. So rapid growth brings huge energy demand. And for one, South and Southeast Asian nations have got the biggest projected energy demand at positive 60% growth by 2040, which is just less than 4 years from now. And efficiency built in early is efficiency multiplied. So rapid growth brings huge energy demand, but also the chance to build efficiency from the start. So governments can catalyze Lean Six Sigma, not just Lean Six Sigma, of course, any continual improvement initiatives. And it must be adapted through training initiatives, one of them. So, and another would be funding for energy audits. And another would be public recognition of efficiency leaders. Transport and manufacturing are the biggest consumers, we know that. So focusing there yields the largest benefits. But we are not discounting the fact that in the public sector, we need to lead by example with energy, initiatives, and smart cities would be a must for us. Again, just to go back, there must be government catalysts. and there must be cross-border collaboration. Good thing within the economies of the world, we have got economic associations, organizations that must be and that are helping each of the economies pull each other up, because one of these members' downfall would mean, the region's downfall as well. They will bear that impact as well. So what's our call to action from here on out? So from crisis to capability. The oil crisis is a wake-up call for all of us. But with Lean Six Sigma, we have a proven method to turn challenge into an opportunity. So I, for one, not to blow my own horn, being in this in this professional world for 30 years now. So I have seen the downs and ups in economies. But I encourage everyone, each of you, as leaders in your organizations, to identify one area where you can apply DMAIC. You can choose a single high impact area. Say, for example, fleet management in your factory operations, in your different facilities within the regions or across the globe. Then you can choose to apply the discipline of DMAIC. Again, the operative word is discipline, because this is a resilience method. This is not just a tool. A tool, if I could again use an analogy in the world of like carpentry, the tool is your hammer, your saw, and the likes. Right? But Lean Six Sigma are not those. Lean Six Sigma is about the art of carpentry, the discipline of carpentry. Right? You're going to be using the tools relevant to the purpose, relevant to the nature of the process issues at hand. Okay, so I need you to reframe your thoughts behind Lean Six Sigma. Lean Six Sigma, if I could say this as a layman jargon, Lean Six Sigma is just a brand name. Most important thing is you understand that it is a resilience methodology. It makes my organization and myself to be resilient against what time would give us, what the world will give us. And it uses the discipline of DMAIC. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This discipline is about a logical sequence that you're not jumping into a conclusion without having validated substantiation into what you're claiming. Otherwise, it's just an opinion. Okay? So again, DMAIC must be applied after you have picked one pilot. Say you can run the full cycle of the whole DMAIC within a given scope. In most cases than not, for a small scale quick win, you can finish that within a month or two. But for a bigger scale project, you can finish that within 3 months. Okay? But for bigger projects, such as black belt projects, that would involve different process owners, departments, sections in an organization that may last for like 6 months. But within that 6 months, these are chunked into bite-sized scope, meaning into bite-sized processes. So you run the full cycle, be rigorous about your data. These are not opinions. Why? Because you have looked into what is currently happening. Okay. Like into again the doctor that I had used as an analogy earlier. Then you can share the story, publishing the wins within your organization, within your group of companies, perhaps. Why? Because if you publish it, it can inspire peers across your group of companies within this region as a bigger scope, but of course outside of the SSEA region, these are most applicable as well. And last but not the least, we can build capability. We're here to help you. You can engage us for the term here, tailored, meaning we can give you the exact tools in the specific publicly available training that we have got. We're not saying that we're going to be bespoking it to how you do it, because in our training programs, in our training catalog, we have got both the examples of a service industry and a manufacturing industry examples and case studies. So that is what I meant with the term tailored. So start small, learn, and scale. So BSI is here to support you with your training and professional certifications as well in the belt that you would want to achieve. And at the same time with your management system certifications. Okay? So, and I suppose you're here because you are engaging with BSI because of your management system standard certifications. And guess what? If you haven't heard, BSI is also certifying professionals such as us in not just qualifications as an auditor, a lead auditor, an internal auditor, or a lead implementer in those management system standards, but we're also certifying process improvement professionals in the form of these events. All right. So, and that basically concludes our presentation. Now, we'd love to hear your questions, but before that, let me engage you with some discussion prompts in your organization. And you can see that in the 3 bullets, the left side of your screen. What might be the biggest barrier you see to applying Lean Six Sigma in your organization? And what ideas resonated most in what I have presented? Where would you run first pilot in the next perhaps 90 days? And if you have got some ideas or perhaps quick answers to those questions, you may just freely type it in our chat, and we'd like to take it further with you. So thank you all for your time and engagement. So let's work together to build a more resilient, efficient future. I give the floor to my partner, Sui, if we have got some questions in the chat.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for your very insightful sharing. We do have questions from the audience. The first one is, how can Lean Six Sigma be adapted for a highly volatile industry like oil and gas, where external factors really dominates? I think you did explain about this during the presentation, but no harm just summarizing it quickly.
All right. So, well, in an organization or in an environment that is highly volatile, you have to have an embedded, structured, disciplined environmental analysis. Right? So as I've mentioned earlier, there are proven environmental analysis tools, disciplines, and way of work. And one of them would be the pestle analysis. You must look into what is currently happening in the political landscape in the country that you're operating in. And of course, if you're a multinational organization, in countries where you are operating in, and look into how you can be more resilient. Say, for example, there are policies, there are government regulations that perhaps are stifling our business in the form of like logistical constraints, such as traffic management, of course, fees and whatnot. In most cases, I suppose your strategic leaders have already incorporated that in their decision to locate your facility. But more so, if you have got the discipline of the clauses 9 and 10 in your harmonized structure management system standards, right? So in those clauses 9 and 10, those are pointing towards the time and tested process improvement discipline. And one of them would be Lean Six Sigma. So perhaps this is the time for you to look into way forward actions to introduce Lean Six Sigma into your organization. We can start with, unbranding it to the very simple brand name of like process improvement initiative, continuous process improvement, right? Operational excellence. You can brand it that way, and then be able to engage your employees from the staff members up to the senior leadership team, and even your third-party service providers, because they work with you. So I hope I answered that question.
I'll move on to the second question. What mistakes do companies commonly make when they're trying to apply Lean Six Sigma, especially during a crisis?
Okay. So I've got a number of knee-jerk reactions to that based on my experience. One of them would be, I'm gonna use an expression here, biting more than you could chew. So if you're unable to scope it down to manageable bite-sized pieces, you will choke, and then you will tell yourselves, this is too hard. We cannot do this. I mean, you can start with, say, the process of requesting for quotation, RFQ process, right? And perhaps if it is undertaken by one person, you look into what they are experiencing, right? Are they experiencing long waiting time for quotations coming from your suppliers? Hence, lengthening the time of the procurement process, whether they are big capex or perhaps your constant replenishable supplies, right? So look into bite-sized pieces. Another jargon that I can say is that don't try to boil the ocean. The ocean is too big for you to boil, right? And you will burn out basically, right? So start with a defined base. In the example that I've given you, and Suyin will be sharing the slide deck that I've shared with you after this call, and make sure that you define it according to your controls. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll move on to the next question. Lean Six Sigma sounds like a manufacturing tool. Just wondering how it can be applied to services or the government.
Yeah. Well, this is the most common, if not one of the most common, if not the most common question behind Lean Six Sigma. Guess what? Every organization, for the example that I've shared this morning, every organization consumes energy indirectly. So a government agency, for one, can use the discipline of DMAIC to reduce fleet idling, right? If you're idling, you're burning fuel, and in doing so, you're consuming more energy as opposed to the regular consumption of those fuel. They can also aim to optimize building energy use, right? And one of the most practical ways to do that is, of course, if the building is half occupied, the air conditioning system must be half consuming the usual energy. They can also provide window system that would prevent the heating, the building. And in some cases, there are also solar enabled window panels that will harness the energy of the sun. That is both renewable and at the same time, reducing the cost to lower the temperature inside the building. And of course, there are also cases whereby government agencies can streamline permit processes that require, say, fewer site visits. And of course, in every value stream, there are consumption of energy. So again, this is the time that we must be more mindful of how much energy we are consuming. So value stream, again, is a jargon within Lean Six Sigma discipline, specifically from Lean. It means that it is the path where value is transformed, is transported from the value creators, which is in most cases us, if we are giving the service or the products to our clients, from us to our clients. So that's a value stream, and it has a discipline on how you are able to determine how it flows, basically. So you have to understand first the value, and then you have to make sure that the value flows without interruption within that value stream. That's one of the key mantra or objectives of Lean. In fact, if combined with Lean Six Sigma, you're able to manage it perfectly and be able to deliver only the value adding services and steps, activities within your processes. Again, Lean Six Sigma might sound like a manufacturing tool or a manufacturing way of work, but it does apply to services and even the government.
Thank you, Anthony. This is from an organization, a question from an organization. They said they have tried efficiency program before, but they fizzle out. So how does Lean Six Sigma prevent this?
Okay, yeah, and thank you for that question. That is very vital. Why? Because in the discipline, again, I've been sounding like a broken record now, the discipline of the DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, and control. Each has got their own worth. I'll use the word value. They've got their value and worth. And guess what? We will be able to prevent those fizzling out of energy programs through the control phase. Okay, so the control phase builds sustainability into your daily management. Like into the example that I've given. In what form? Okay, so this can be in the form of standard work. Visual management is one way to do that, and regular reviews. In fact, even in one of your favorite fast food chains, they have got visual management. You can determine if the production crew is being choked up by the number of orders coming from the customers, and you can see that in their Kanban. So I'm using a jargon here now. Kanban means it's a visual display of what are in the kitchen that are being processed and what are those that are already ready to be served to you. Okay, so you can see that, oh, okay, they are fully loaded, and I'm just here for like 20 minutes. I can't wait for that long, because usually, just to let you know, in a fast food queue, you must be there in the queue for like only 2 minutes. If you're there longer than 2 minutes, it's not worth it. It's not worth it because it's a fast food, right? That's the point behind fast food chains. Okay. Anyway, so let me just go back to that question. The key is the control phase. You have to have that. The end goal is not the improvement. I mean, okay, we have introduced these SOPs. We have converted our facility into a spick and span facility. It doesn't have any clutters now. It's very clean, tidy. But the thing is, are they using? do they know how to communicate with each other? Because one way or the other, it might just go back to how it used to be without any specific controls. So again, you must build control, build sustainability into daily management.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll move on to the next question. What do you think is the most underestimated source of oil waste?
That's a good question. That's a good question. In fact, that is also applicable to each one of us as automobile owners. Idling. Idling is the most underestimated source of oil waste. So if we let our vehicles idle, and in your facilities, in your manufacturing facilities, if your machineries are idling, even HVAC, HVAC, right? HVAC systems, if they're running when not needed, those are most underestimated source of oil waste. So many organizations don't measure idle time. And guess what? One of your key takeaways in this webinar call right now is to check what are my idle machineries, what are my idle capex. Okay, so a simple data collection plan will uncover those surprising amounts. Even just like a 10-minute idling, and you can calculate your your mileage. Voila, it will give you the dollar value. Yeah.
That's very true, Anthony. Thank you. I'll take probably we will choose two last questions since we're almost at the top of the hour. And for those that we didn't respond to, we can respond to after the webinar via email, and we can prepare it in a FAQ document format to share with all attendees. I think this question is very relevant as well. A company is small, there's no dedicated improvement team. Would they still be able to use Lean Six Sigma in that situation, Anthony?
Yeah. So guess what? Lean Six Sigma is not a superfluous way of work. This is applicable to any types of organizations. So for a small organization, start with a quick win, with a quick win pilot. You can look into data such as presenting, say again, with respect to what I have presented today. You can present a fuel consumption reduction. Aim for that. Aim for that. Always go for SMART goals. This is also sounding like a broken record, because SMART goal has been introduced like 20 years ago, if not more than that. SMART meaning specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. In some organizations, change the R to C already. Challenging, make the goals challenging, and then time bound. So one of the examples would be on the note of fuel consumption reduction. You can aim for, say, reducing fuel consumption by, say, 12% in 3 months with no capital investment. And if you're presenting that to the senior leadership team, they will be their eyes will glitter. Oh, no capital investment. Okay, let's try that. So how do you do that? Let's go back to my practical
Call to action earlier.
Yeah, my practical tip earlier. Look into the idling, right? So also frame it as risk reduction. Lowering oil dependency makes the organization less vulnerable to price spikes. So again, it has nothing to do with the size of the organization. And guess what? If you're going to ask me, you're on a better footing if you're a small organization, because you have to only work with a few stakeholders as opposed to a bigger organization, right? So yeah, so hopefully you're able to try it out, and sorry, with that, we're looking forward to working with you in the future. Over to you, Sui.
Yeah, one last question. So what type of Lean Six Sigma training is suitable, especially for participants who already have basic knowledge of SPC?
Okay, so if you've got the basic knowledge of SPC, I encourage you to pursue your qualifications. Start with the yellow belt, course, because that is a prerequisite for you to achieve the green belt course. Admittedly, SPC is a higher tool already. It's quite advanced, because in the yellow belt you will be introduced to the 7 QC tools. In the green belt, SPC is just one of the higher or advanced modules, together with hypothesis tests, with other inferential statistics tools, and at the same time with the lean tools such as the value stream map, the discipline of flow, and of course with Kanban and the like. So again, start with that level. If you have got that basic, you can go for the yellow belt. In BSI, here at BSI, we are recognizing prior learning. So we can give you an RPL, recognition of prior learning exam for a yellow belt. If you pass that, you can immediately enroll for a green belt course. So the green belt is where you will get, in conjunction with that SPC, with other tools. And don't worry about how to calculate it and the likes, because we have got Minitab to aid you, with Excel to aid you in the foundation green belt course, the first phase, the first 3 days. The last 3 days of that would be equipped with Minitab.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Like I mentioned earlier, we have some questions which are not answered, and we can respond to those via email after the webinar. Before you leave the webinar, I will appreciate if you can take 1 minute to complete our feedback poll. And again, thank you so much, Anthony, for your very insightful sharing. Thank you so much for your time today. And to the audience as well, thank you very much for your time today. Please complete the feedback poll before you leave our webinar. Thank you again.